Hello, everyone, and welcome back for this afternoon's session. Today is June 26, 2024, and we're here at Developer Summit. And we'll be presenting this session on empowering enterprise teams with connected workflows. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So my name is Pat Jensen. I'm a distinguished architect here at Zoom and responsible for the technical platform strategy. And I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Mike. Mike, why don't you come off mute and introduce yourself to the team?
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, hey, everybody. My name is Mike Williams, and I'm a technical solutions architect here at Zoom. Happy to be here. I used to be a customer of Zoom's before joining Zoom almost 4 years ago. So I think this is going to be a really exciting session. Hopefully, a lot of you here are customers or thinking of becoming customers. And so with that, I can understand your journey because I've been there. And now I work at Zoom, and I get to work with Pat every day to look at a lot of different APIs and SDKs, and happy to be here to talk a little bit more about how we can help you in a number of enterprise situations.
Wonderful, Mike. Well, thank you very much for joining. I'm really excited to have your viewpoints in here as well as we start to explore what connected workflows look like. And I know you'll be taking us through a few of those examples. So just want to start off with a quick safe harbor statement. I think that you've probably seen this in a few sessions today. We're going to be talking about technologies that are generally available. So the APIs and SDKs that we'll be referring to today are available for you to use. But this is just here to let you know that any statements around roadmap can change. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. For the agenda for today's session, for the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to go through a little bit of an overview around our platform. So if you're coming in from the outside and you want to know more about Zoom and kind of where we're going with our platform, we'll spend some time talking about that. We'll also go over an introduction to our API and SDK platform and frameworks that are available for you to use to develop around as well. Once we get through that, we'll switch gears and we'll start to talk about what connected workflows are and how you can use them as you develop your solutions around them. We will be sharing some code snippets and demos, looking at the REST APIs that we use for the workflows that we build. And Mike is going to actually take us through a demo of each of those, broken down by use case as well. And then we'll close out today's session with some best practices around building and integrating workflows into the Zoom platform. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it. A lot has been going on at Zoom, I would say, over the last quarter or so. If you missed the news, we did announce our 6.0 release of the platform. And with that, we have been calling that release Zoom Workplace. And what Zoom Workplace does is it takes all of the collaboration capabilities that we have on our platform and brings them together in one place. And so you're going to start to see that as we talk more about our APIs and our SDKs. But this brings together all of the collaboration modes that are available. So starting out with team chat, using Zoom as a cloud PBX with Zoom Phone, bringing together interactive whiteboarding and in-meeting chat and content collaboration features into meetings, and a whole lot more. So there's been a lot going on here with the 6.0 release. If you haven't taken the time to read and learn more about it, definitely would encourage that as well, with release notes available on our website. Now, we've started to bring a lot more into our platform around AI and machine learning, and I'm sure you've heard about that here today with what we're doing with AI Companion and starting to integrate those work streams into Zoom's platform. We do have the capability within our platform to enable applications to surface themselves within the Zoom client. We call that Zoom Apps. So you can start to bring on those workflows into Zoom. And finally, through our app marketplace, you can build applications and make them available to all of Zoom users as well. And so this is really a great place to be able to go in, discover, provision, set up, and onboard those applications for users as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, when we talk about our API and SDK platform, we're taking all of the great capabilities that we have within Zoom, and we're extending that out through our comprehensive set of software development kits. And this gives you access to capabilities that are available within the core products. And there are two really good examples that you can see on the left-hand side of the slide here. Up on the upper left-hand corner, you'll see an integration, a CRM integration built for Salesforce, where we're surfacing the Zoom phone client directly into the web page. So from here, you could go in and you could click on a contact. You could type in the notes that are tied to a particular opportunity or to a particular contact. And from there, directly be able to click to call from within that application. So very, very powerful way to incorporate Zoom's capability into web-based applications. Down below, you'll actually see a view of the Zoom client itself. And within the Zoom client, we have the ability to connect to third-party services. And so we've surfaced a number of partner solutions available here where you can bring in content collaboration from outside services as well. Now, we've extended these capabilities, these APIs, across our entire platform. So as I mentioned earlier, meetings, team chat, phone, rooms, and a lot more. And we'll show you a demo of what those APIs look like and how you can use them. The software development kits that we provide here today, we're going to hit all of your favorite platforms and languages. So really looking at how we're available on the desktop with Windows and Mac OS, into mobile devices, like web, iOS, and more. As far as language support goes, everything from JavaScript to C, C#, Python, and PHP. And we do have extensive developer documentation that's available today on developers.zoom.us. So if you haven't taken a look at that yet, definitely open up a browser tab real quick. If you've got one on your second monitor, type in developers.zoom.us, and you'll be able to have that content available to go through as well. We do have code samples there, as well as support resources through our support forum. So we talk about building connected workflows. What is this all about? Well, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see your typical video meeting and team chat type use cases. And if you think about this, there are a lot of different applications that you have, whether they're custom applications that you built in your environment or third-party applications that you're looking to build and ship on top of Zoom that can really start to take advantage of these connected workflows. And your users can use the functionality that Zoom provides in your app without having to do that context switching. And if you think about that, that's really what makes Zoom unique here in this space. We're not shipping 18 applications and calling it a collaboration solution, nor are we shipping 18 different web apps that you have to stitch together and integrate. So from a context switching perspective, they can stay within your app and tie in all of these capabilities around video meetings, phone, contact center, and more. And our customers can take advantage of these capabilities as well as we look at rolling out more AI capabilities on our platform. This is included at no additional cost to our users, to paid users that are on the Zoom platform. Finally, I mentioned this earlier, but there's a great opportunity for you to be able to connect with new customers for the workflows and solutions that you build. You can submit your application on the Zoom app marketplace for customers to be able to both discover and provision in their environment. Now, when we look at connecting across the Zoom platform, we're going to share a lot of examples today using our APIs and SDKs. And we're going to focus on the left side of the screen here. So you're going to see phone, team chat, meetings, rooms, and so on. So with that, I want to hand it over to Mike. And Mike, I want you to set up the conversation around where we're going with our API platform and how our partners and developers can build applications, workflows and applications on top of our platform.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Thanks for that. I think that was a really great overview. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to share my screen if you wouldn't mind stopping there, and just grab mine here. And folks, what I want to take you through really quick here is really looking at our framework and tying together what Pat had just mentioned around our SDKs and our APIs and kind of where these all land in your journey, right? So if you look at our framework here, we've got kind of two different spaces. We're looking at both the front end and the back end. And if we look within inside of Zoom, you would have seen in other sessions today this idea and this concept of surfacing an application from within inside of Zoom. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. But also within inside of the Zoom experience, you heard earlier too about the concept of connecting, right? So we have connectors that allow you again to bring information into inside of Zoom and work with that information. And I'll show you kind of a visual example of that in a moment. Outside of Zoom, we have this amazing capability to bring Zoom into your application, right? And I'll show you again an example and a code example of that in a moment. But really, again, this is really where I think the rubber meets the road for a lot of customers is, again, bringing that experience of Zoom into their application. And then finally, being able to access the data that's inside and controlling Zoom from outside of Zoom, but accessing it again from your application. And really, that's where the heart of a lot of the demonstrations that we're going to go through today are going to live. And then finally, we do have a category kind of all by itself over on the right here around build. So this is for you, the developer that really wants to build your own kind of custom experience for your customer, but utilize a lot of the Zoom infrastructure to bring that experience alive in a really high quality way. So here's a quick example, a visual example of, say, what a connector can do today. So imagine if you've created, you've got your CRM, you've either built one or you're using an off-the-shelf one. Connector will allow you to take information from that CRM and then expose that inside of the Zoom client, right? So in this example, as Pat had talked about earlier, we're overloading, say, our global search, right? So we're searching for this particular person. And instead of this coming from, say, a database that's inside of Zoom, it's actually reaching out, querying the CRM and exposing that information right within inside the Zoom client. Another example would be saying using a chatbot today. Again, being able to do a database dip and pulling that information out from multiple different sources and using connector that way. And then finally, looking at different types of, say, card information, as you're seeing here in the bottom right. So this is an example inside of our team chat area where we're, again, being able to unfold and provide information around a contact. When we talk about surfacing apps, as Pat had mentioned earlier, and this is a visual example, surfacing apps across the entire Zoom platform. So today, think of things like the ability to connect into Jira or Confluence and bring that information and surface that application, that Jira experience right within inside of Team Chat, right? So you're able to go in and say, within inside of a running thread of a chat message, you're able to go in and identify an issue and create a Jira around it. So really powerful stuff to bring your application into that Zoom experience. So finally, what I want to set up here is I'm going to give you a quick example of what an embed kind of experience looks like. So I'm going to run this video and kind of talk through it of what you're seeing here. But what I've done here is built, say, a CRM application for Amzo Bank. And what I'm doing here is, displaying those potential customers and their phone numbers, right? And for a lot of salespeople, having to manually go and dial numbers is quite cumbersome. So what we came out with a while ago is the ability to use URI schemas, right? So we're able to use those basic call to, tell, and a Zoom telephone call. And we are able to, front load that, again, inside of a CRM. And so from here, I could simply, identify a user that I want. I could click on the phone number, and then the Zoom application is automatically launched from the browser, and that telephone conversation happens. But we know that we can do better than that. So what we've built is a Zoom embedded experience that basically you're going in and you're either identifying through JavaScript or through an iframe, and you're adding a number of features. So as I'm showing here, you can do click to call, you can answer, you can hold resume. We support logging and SMS. And so this documentation is out there today. This feature was beta several months ago, but it is now full production. So I suggest you go check that out. But as you can see here, I'm just simply copying over my JavaScript code that is already built out there for you. And through some configuration, what I'm going to be able to do here is I'm going to save this now, this file, and I'm going to go and upload this off to my EC2 instance. And then once I get this code updated, you'll see in a moment what we're able to do. It's going to be pretty incredible, I think. So now that I've updated this, I'm able to then sign into my Zoom client from my web app. And once I've bound this application to my application, I'm able to now go in. I can do freeform, type in phone numbers. I can copy and paste in. I can also do directory lookups. I'm able to make a call right from here. So this is all taking place within inside of a web application. I get all the native functionality that you would have expected out of Zoom Phone right within inside the web app. I'm able to, view voicemail. I can see the transcription of that voicemail. I can listen to it right from here. I can go through and I can, send SMSs right from here. So it's an experience that I believe is really powerful. Again, it cuts down on a number of the clicks that salesperson has to go through. It's a really powerful experience. So if you haven't checked out Zoom Phone Embed, I strongly suggest you do that. Kind of moving forward.
A quick comment on that one too, Mike. I think it's incredibly powerful, and this really shows how you can take those workflows and start to embed the Zoom capabilities right from within the web experience, so that you can enable click to call, you can enable more of the real-time collaboration use cases. In the past, we would have had to switch between multiple apps to do this, right? We would have had to fire up a separate soft phone. We would have to switch windows and sign in. Moving from that disjointed experience to what we're able to do in 2024, it really makes collaboration seamless for our users.
Exactly, Pat. I think you hit on a good point that it's very seamless for the end user, but I think even more powerful is that the fact that it took very little code to bring this up. So from a developer perspective and time to market perspective, it's just really turnkey that way, right? So so what I'm showing here, folks, is a number of the events and capabilities that you can incorporate, right? When you're ready to do that with the Zoom Phone Embed experience. And as I'm showing below, it's a simple iframe drop right into your web application to enable this functionality. So this is, I think, a great example of what, again, I showed in the framework, the embed kind of workflow in that experience. So I'm going to switch gears for a moment, and I want to go through kind of a case study, if you will, of onboarding a new employee, what that day one experience looks like. And I want to take 3 different applications out of that kind of the large wheel that you saw earlier. So inside of the wheel, we've got our app marketplace, right? Our app marketplace is where you as a developer go to distribute your applications and where your end users are going to go to install those applications. I want to highlight a few areas of team chat to give you some ideas of where you can automate, again, kind of that first day experience for a new employee that's onboarding. And then finally, I want to round it out with Workspace reservation. So we work in a lot of different environments, right? Some of us are completely remote, some of us are in office, and some of us live somewhere in between. And Workspace reservation works to kind of bridge that gap, I would say, between the online experience and the in-person experience, and really set people up for success when they get into the office. So let's go through each of these, and I'm going to start with Marketplace. So the app marketplace, we have a number of capabilities with this. Again, as say you're an IT administrator or somebody who works in compliance, one of those things that you're really concerned about is the ability to, again, authorize and deploy applications, but you want to do it in a way that makes sense for your organization. And that's where granular and optional scopes come in. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. We had some sessions on it earlier today that really touched on it. So if you want to dive really deep into those spaces, I would suggest checking out those sessions. But we have a number of APIs, REST APIs and webhooks that allow you to control, again, that experience from understanding what the user is asking for to authorizing and deploying those applications. So let me walk you through an example of that right now. So as a new employee or an employee that's been at the company for a while, when I open up the Zoom application, one of the areas that I have access to, let's say, is the apps area. So when I click on apps, I can see pretty quickly here, these are the apps that I have access to under my apps. But I can also go under add apps. And so let's say, for an example, there's an application that I want to add to maybe improve, an experience for maybe either onboarding new employees or just kind of a group activity. So I can go in here and say, I want to go under games, and maybe I'm going to click on this Brightful Icebreakers game. And this is the game that I want to include in my meetings. Notice at the top, it says I got to request access to this application from my admin. So I can't just install this right out of the gate. So I can go and hit the request button and give a description of what it is that I'm needing access to here and why I need access to this. So I'm just going to say I have an upcoming meeting and I want to use this app, and I can then confirm that request. And in a moment here, I'll show you kind of how to set these privileges up and permissions up for your organizations. But now you can see that it's pending. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over and I'm going to actually put on my admin hat here, and notice that I'm logged in as an admin, and you'll see kind of where this ends up. So if I go to our app requests, I'm going to see, there's two apps here that are now available, or people have asked to have access to them. And from here, I can go in and I can see all the app information. I can see its description. I can see what kind of scopes it's going to have access to. I can see, what the app can manage and what it can read. I can see, again, those scopes in a more detailed view here. I can also see a number of the links that the developer provided, whether it's documentation about the application or its privacy policy or terms of use. So you as a developer, you would supply those, and those are available in our marketplace. And I can see now the reason why the user George needs this application, and I can decide, do I want to approve it or decline it? So I can do this all again from the interface of Marketplace itself.
Mike, one point I would make there too is that this is a great way to subscribe it for everyone in the organization all at once. So once you've gone through and you've done that study, you can say, I want to approve this for all 10,000 users, and you're able to very rapidly roll that out across the enterprise.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm also able to put, certain permissions on here, Pat, like I was showing before. I can restrict and say, what, I want everybody to be able to require everyone to ask for permission to use this application. So I'll be notified as an admin, that, hey, I've got users that would like to, have access to an application. I can also control how the user is notified when I go in and approve an application. So in this case, I'm going to leave it as a desktop, kind of toast notification that pops up to let them know that. But as you can see, this was quite a lot of work, a lot of steps that had to go through. So I know we can do better here. So let's actually tie in some REST APIs and automate this. And this is, I think, where kind of the rubber meets the road, as they say, for how we really expose kind of the power of Zoom. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through in Postman, and I'm going to show you, run through the same scenario essentially, but I'm going to do this all through REST APIs. So there's 3 endpoints that really we want to look at here. And those are around the listing the apps. So when I go in here, I'm going to go to my, again, Marketplace apps endpoint, and I'm going to look at what my current requests are. So I'm going to click the send button here, and I can see I have 2 applications, as I saw before. I've got again, that brightful icebreaker, as well as heads up here. And I can see that both of them have an app type of a Zoom app. And I can also see the app ID, which is going to be needed in a moment for when I do my next call to find out more information about the app. So this is the app I want more information about. So when we hit our marketplace apps endpoint, I'm going to want to query for that specific app ID. So I'm going to paste that in here, and I'm going to send that request. And in this GET request, I'm going to see the exact same information I would have seen inside of Marketplace. So this is super helpful if you are going to say tie this into maybe your IT service management workflow, because now you're able to actually start getting both from an event standpoint as well as a query about an application that a user would want, right? And you can start feeding that information into, say, a request ticket. From here, I'm going to go and approve this application. So at this point, I'm going to go in and I'm going to, again, populate this specific application in, and I'm going to see the request for this. And I can see that, George Washington is the requester here. So I can see that, and I can see what the reasoning is for it. So again, super useful information if you're trying to tie this back into, say, a business application where you might have help desk fulfilling a bunch of requests on behalf of. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and approve it. I've decided that this application is fine to approve, so I'm going to paste in that identifier for the app itself, and I'm going to run this patch here. And oh, I forgot. I need to go and I need to grab the actual the app itself and the ID of the individual. So you need both of those in this one. So I'm going to go put that up in my query string here, and then I'm going to hit send. And then what you should see then is that we got back a 204 success. And then in the upper right-hand corner, if you look, I should be getting a notification momentarily that an application was approved. And just wait a moment. And it just takes a sec here. There it goes. So as you can see, the toast popped. So now the user knows that they have access to that. So that is an example of, again, walking through that marketplace workflow and then tying that back into, maybe an ITSM workflow. So, all right, moving on. The next thing I want to do is talk through team chat. So some of the capabilities that we've got around APIs are, messaging, file upload, basically about everything you can do from within inside the client, you can do via APIs, right? And so one of the things that we want to do is welcome our new employee to the organization. So let's take a look at how we would do that. So let me just hit start on this one. And so again, I'm going to go up to team chat, and I'll kind of give you a quick, rundown of what this looks like from the client experience. So when I go in here, notice that I'm offline in this example, but no worries. I'm actually able to send messages even though I'm offline. So I don't have to, let's say I was George Washington's manager, I don't have to actually be online to send the message. I can do it on behalf of, which is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to jump over and I'm going to show you that the way that I'm doing this, and you've seen some of this in the other sessions today, I've actually created an application, an onboarding application. It's an OAuth app. And what I've done here is I've gone in and configured this app to be an admin managed app. And as you see on the left-hand side, those were the framework that we were talking about earlier, whether it's access, surface, embed, and soon here connect. Those are going to land underneath the features area. And if you'd heard earlier, we now moved from into this new unified build flow experience. And so as part of that, there is just one application with all these capabilities now. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of, again, show you that underneath Access here, I'm able to go in and I'm able to, again, select what events that I want to listen for. So in here, I maybe want to monitor and see that a chat message was sent. Underneath Surface, this application could be used inside of meetings, webinars, rooms, and all the areas of Zoom really where we support Surface apps. So. And then finally under embed, this is where you're going to toggle on if you're going to use any of our SDKs, right? So our SDKs, similar to what I was showing earlier, is part of that embed phone experience. And so if I wanted to use any of these SDKs, I would turn it on. And then from here, I can download, I can view the release notes. As Pat had mentioned earlier, we support a number of different platforms for that. And then finally under scopes, this is where, again, I'm going to declare the scopes of data that I'm going to be working with. And then for this application, I'm using this for a number of things, but specifically in this one, I'm working on team chat. So again, I can go in here and I would specify, yep, I'm going to be calling APIs, again, that are specific to team chat. And then we have that concept of making things, optional scopes. So I could, as a developer, suggest and say, hey, as a minimum viable product, we want to work with meetings, but, if you approve chat, you can get these additional capabilities. So I've gone in and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and send a message and I'm going to use that chat endpoint, make sure that I've got the correct token. Looks like I don't, so I'm going to go get a new token. And I'm showing you this because this is where I want to demonstrate where those optional scopes are then visible to the end user or you as the IT admin. So I can see here are the required scopes, and then here are a few optional scopes that I can select. And by doing that, again, it opens up additional capabilities for you as a developer or you as the end user, really. So now that I've got that token, I can go ahead and now I can start sending messages. So maybe this is their very first day of starting again. I can go ahead and welcome them to the company. And so when I'm just going to scoot this over so you can see this happen kind of in real time. So on the left, we're going to send the command, and then on the right, you'll see the output of that. So all right. So in here, I'm going to go under the body, and in this particular endpoint, this is where we would draft our message and then to who we're going to send it to. And in the query string, just as a reminder, you're specifying the account ID of the person you're going to send it from. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and I click the send button, and then you should notice on the right, instantly I get a message. I'm logged in as George Washington on the right, and I get a message from Mike Williams welcoming me. From here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually create a new channel, because one of those things with onboarding, oftentimes we might be in a group chat, let's say, where we might need to be talking to, say, a onboarding coach and my manager and a few different teammates. So let's go ahead and create a channel for that. And again, this could be tied into an HR kind of a workflow, if you will. So when the new employee is being onboarded, again, this could be part of that workflow. So from here, I'm going to specify who I want to be members of this channel, and I'm going to name the channel. So onboarding information, include the manager, Mike Williams, and George Washington here. And oops, looks like I didn't have the right token. So I'm going to go back and just make sure I got the right token, because remember, I had to add additional scopes. So now that we've got the right token, we should see a success. And then notice on the right now, I have this onboarding information. So, and I've got 2 members who are included in that. So we've got success on there. So, with that, the other thing that I want to do here is in the channel itself, I do want to send a bit more information. So what I'm going to do is now that I've got the channel ID, I'm going to go up and send a message just to that channel. So we can, send messages to people, but we can also send them to channels too. So for time's sake, I'm just going to comment out kind of the piece where it just sends to a person, and I'm going to go ahead and just send it to that channel. So, and while I'm doing this too, the other thing we do have support for doing notifications and callouts. So one of the items in here is at items, we call it. So inside of this, in this array, I can actually go ahead and notify George that, hey, you've got a new message here. So then when I go ahead and I'm going to send this, you'll notice that again, we will have we're specifying who it's going to, and then at what position are we going to create that at experience. So we'll just welcome George to his first day, and hopefully it's awesome. And then there is that channel identifier that I grabbed earlier. So I'm going to hit send, and you should see this pop up. And I got that, remember, from that ID that I created earlier. So all right, so now that I've sent this, you'll see now on the right-hand side, both we've got a mention and we've got the message that was sent, and it can tell you again that we have a message for George, or in this case, the way we display that is an at me in that channel. So that's, I think that's a good example of, again, tying in kind of a workflow into that, into the chat experience. And then finally, to round this off, looking at Workspace reservation, as I said before, we live in a world where we've got a lot of remote workers, a lot of hybrid workers, and a lot of folks that are back in person. And really what this allows you to do, what Workspace reservation does, is allow you to, again, be very flexible in terms of where you're working, right? So on one of the first days, we're going to have George come in and we're going to assign him a desk. And so what this workflow is going to do, using those APIs on the right-hand side, whether it's, understanding what the usage is, grabbing a QR code so that when George shows up at the office, he can sit down at a desk and zap that QR code and reserve it. We're going to look at all of these and kind of see how these tie together. So from here, like I did earlier, showing you kind of what this looks like from the user perspective, and then how do I automate it? So with inside of the Zoom client, we've got, again, a tab at the top called Workspaces. And from here, I can see, I can check out my calendar of what day a particular desk is available. I am assigned to the third floor of this building, so I only have access to that particular area of the building. I can, see the map, the layout in the middle there, and I can see what reservations. I don't have any upcoming reservations, and I can select a desk, and I can get a visual of kind of what that desk looks like. I can see, when I can reserve the time. I can specify the time again visually through the client here. And then once I, confirm this is the desk that I want, I can click the reserve button and make that reservation. And notice now it might be hard to see, but my icon showed up there, and I can see the receipt of my reservation. So I've got that desk booked. So now, how do we do this again from an API perspective? Say we had welcomed the employee, we had sent them that message. How do we do this again using a REST API and automate this a bit? So let's kind of walk through that. So the first thing I'm going to do is list the locations that I've got available in my organization. So I'm going to look at, what cities that are open here. So I'm able to, again, kind of walk the organization's map, if you will, and look at the availability across all of my fleet of rooms. So from here, I can see that my organization has 2 rooms that support workplace reservation in Denver and in Plymouth. And what I want to do is, kind of narrow this down and to the Denver office, but I'm going to need to know, kind of what floors are there. So The way that I do that, because again, I could have multiple workspaces across multiple areas of the building. I'm going to look and run a specific query on this endpoint, the rooms locations endpoint. And what I'm going to do is look specifically at the city identifier here. And I'm going to query that and see what type, query for floor type is what I want. We support many different kind of types of things. So I know that I want to look at the third floor specifically, so I'm going to look at that identifier. I'm going to copy that identifier and list the available workspaces that are on that floor. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to list the workspaces. So I'm going to do a get again on that workspaces endpoint, and I'm going to populate that query parameter with that identifier. So now I know specifically that location, and I can see that there is a third floor desk 25 is available. So that's what I'm going to grab, and I'm going to see what reservations are already there, and I'm going to see what I'm going to do that by grabbing again that ID, that identifier, and copy that over and see what reservations. And what we should see are the at least the reservation that I made earlier. So as part of the query parameter, I'm going to put in that specific workstation, and I want to see, looking at a specific time range that the workstation, if it has any reservations. So I'm going to send that. And in here, I don't have any. I didn't open up that large enough here. So let me just adjust that quick. And I'll send that. And there you can see now that that's the reservation that I had earlier that I had made. So from here, I can go ahead and make a reservation then, as long as it doesn't conflict with that time. I can also see that the individual, George, hasn't checked in yet. So as part of a workflow, you can set it up where, if a room has been reserved, but people have not shown up or checked in, you can release the room. So that's really good information. And so I can see that, again, the room is reserved, but it hasn't been checked in. I can see who it was by. So let's go ahead and make a reservation on behalf of George for his first day. So from here, I'm going to, again, select the room that I want, the resource. I'm going to put a start and an end time, give it a topic. If you had some digital signage, in the area, you could, make it so that it would show kind of the topic and who it's reserved for. So you could see the desks that are available and kind of what's happening in that space if you so choose. And then that identifier, that ZCG, that's the identifier for George. So we're going to go in and place that in there, and then we're going to run that and post that. And so now we've got it reserved. And then if I go, I can see that, yep, he hasn't checked in, which makes sense. And that's the reservation ID. So I can refer back to that if I ever need to delete or modify that reservation. And then while we're at it, why don't we just let George know that, hey, we've got a reservation. And what this is doing, this is a great example of showing, I can both send, text obviously through chat, but I can also send files. One thing to note here is the endpoint for files is different than our regular API endpoints, meaning you're going to want to call that file.zoom.us. Make sure you've got that. That trips people up sometimes. So you're going to want to make sure you're sending, I'm going to send this again to the channel, this map that I've uploaded, and I'm going to send that. And I can see the identifier for that message and 201 that it was created. So we're successful. So if I go back now and I check out team chat, notice that I've got, or rather in Workspace reservation, I can see I've got those reservations now, both the one that I booked and the one that we use the API to book. And then if I go and I can see, yep, that makes sense that it's at that time that I reserved it for. And then if I go up to team chat here, I can see that I've got a couple of messages, and we actually have a Workspace app that I've installed. So again, this is an example of a surface level app. where Workspace reservation is highlighting those reservations for me. So, which is quite nice. And then if I go to my onboarding channel, notice here we've also got that map of where the desk is at. So I think these are, again, great examples of the ways in which you can bring APIs into your, again, your workflow. One thing I want to highlight for all of you that you might be new to developing at Zoom, if you are, a great place to check out in Postman, we do have a public collection that you can start doing your own development from right here from the again from Postman. So we've got a lot of great examples in there, a lot of great code snippets you can start with. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Pat to give us some quick start.
Thanks, Mike, and fantastic demo. Just want to close us out here this afternoon. The resources that we shared around the Zoom Phone Smart Embed Guide, the Team Chat app card builder, those are available in the chat, and they'll also be available in the deck after today's session. So we've got some great resources lined out for you here to help get you started with some best practices as well. With that, just want to close things out and thank you everyone for taking the time to join and learn more about how you can build connected workflows on our platform. We've built a comprehensive platform with native APIs and SDKs that cover all of the great capabilities that Mike has showed us here today. You can build very powerful integrations and workflows that are cohesive across our platform, whether it's embedded into Zoom as a Zoom app, or available in your application as well. And we're committed to building new capabilities for developers with technologies like Zoom connectors to help shape the future of work. But with that, we'd like to thank you for joining us here today for Zoom Developer Summit. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.